is up, Evil Dead fans? Before I get started, I want to thank Rufus Williams again for this incredible intro that he made that you just saw. He sent me another one. He's like, hey man, use this whenever you can. I'm like, next video. So thanks again to Rufus Williams for that. And the giveaway winner was Paris Michael Voorhees. He was the first one to answer him correctly. And I did do a consolation prize of a cover. Congratulations to Paris for winning it first. And then second place was Matt Merlet. So congratulations to him as well. And when the second run comes out, I might do another giveaway, so stay tuned for that. In this video, we are talking about the Evil Dead 1 Book of the Dead, the Naturum de Monto. Sometimes I call it the Necronomicon, but it really isn't a Necronomicon. It's the Naturum de Monto. It's the only one that was never called a Necronomicon. But we're not going to talk about this one, the one that I did. We'll talk about it a little bit. We'll show it off a little bit. But we're going to basically be talking about this right here. The other one. Done by Payton Petrone sculpting, and towards the end of this video, I have talked about him before. I will show his Instagram page, so if you want one of these, hit him up. And you might be asking yourself, why is there two completely different looking books? Now this one is based off the shot when Ash picks it up first and foremost. This one is from when Ash is trying to grab it with the Trafar, the necklace, basically, that he gave Linda and throw it in the fire. Why was there completely two different books? Well, actually, there might have been a couple different ones of this one. This one was a standalone by itself. Why was there multiple? Now, you have to know the background of these and how they were made. Now, there was never a mold made of them. It was never something duplicated. What it was is, in Scotty, the character in Evil Dead 1, his prosthetics, they were used for these books. So there was multiple prosthetics made, one for this one. And what I mean by one is the eyes, nose, and mouth, that kind of thing was made into this book here. And I will talk a little bit about this more later on binding and things like that. And basically they were thrown on here, you threw some latex on and just made it happen. And looks great. Same thing with this one. Did the same thing, but you can see it's at a much different angle. Here to here to here. Now there is some shots, which I'll show you right here, of this book. Now with those few different shots, you will notice that there's one shot where there's like a break right here. Could have been from the heat from the fireplace. Don't know if it was a different one. A shot where the nose does look like it is like this one where it's bent over. But there's also a shot where it is big and bulbous like this, similar to what Scotty had on his face when he was a Deadite. Now why was there multiple books? Because when it comes to filming, in case there was any reshoots or anything, they wanted to keep, you know, this one available. You always want to keep like the hero one, the main one available. So it was not the same book. Now let's take a closer look. You can see the difference here versus this one. Let's bring them both up here. Different paint jobs, but yet similar. Let's look at the back of these two. Basically the same size. This one's just a touch bigger, not much. And the reason why the back of this one is so much different is there probably wasn't much of a back done to it because, you know, you never saw it. There might have been a back to it that was very similar to this. We don't know because you never see the back side of it. You just see the front side of it tossed in the fire. And with this book, the way I painted this is I used 3 different colors. Actually, a 4th color. Let me go grab it. The colors that I used to paint this book And it's very simple, it's not hard to do. You don't need water or anything like that. You don't have to do any wet brushing or anything like that. So let's sit this down. And I love how it looks from the side. They can see the nose and everything. So this is accurate. If you look back on those photos that I showed, you will also see one that looks green. So there is a consensus saying there was maybe more than one of the books made for the Burning Insane. Hard to tell, but a possibility. So when it comes to the painting, I started out with this color right here. It's called Teddy Bear Tan. And basically all I did is covered the whole thing completely with that. That's the base coat. The same thing with the inside. Here's the inside right here. Did that and then lightly, literally spritzed this. It's a clear acrylic coating. It's clear just to seal it. So when I add the other paints, they don't mix together. It's matte finish. It's basically, you know, you're not on it going, you're just doing that shit. Really just like how my wife puts on her perfume. It's just, you know, how like just rolls into it. So if you have this, it's just, that's it. If you add too much clear, yeah, that was really weird. But if you add too much clear, what'll happen is it will crack because you're using acrylics and it's opening, closing, things like that. This isn't a bendable paint. So when you do your base coat, you don't want to add too much of this. And you may want to plastic dip this before, which I did. I plastic dipped it in black. If you have white plastic dip, the only thing that sucks, if it does crack at all, guess what? You're going to see that white in the cracks. And if you do get cracks on your base coat, there's usually painted when it's open, when it's bound like this, when it's bent, then you repair those cracks. So after that, I used raw sienna. Now I didn't go over everything with raw sienna. Basically, you just do it lightly. You have a paintbrush like this. Do not load this up like you're pinstriping a car or painting like a fence. Just a little bit, and then you just, especially over the high spots, you just kind of whip it over to where you want. Don't coat the whole thing, because if you coat the whole thing, you won't get the contrast of colors on it. You can see contrast. So you do that, let that dry. Doesn't take long for this stuff to dry. After that, burnt sienna. And I do suggest, if you're trying to make it look flat or a matte, do not get the gloss finish paint. If you want a gloss look, then use gloss. But if you want that old, raw, you know, flat look, get matte. So you go with your burnt siennas. Same thing, don't load your brush up too much, just a little bit at a time. Just a little bit, like say you got your little thing right here, put your paint on it, and then wipe a crap ton of it off. And then same thing, all over the high spots, the edges. And use reference photos when you do this. And if you do this bound, I do suggest to do the inside first, because you want the front, especially with this cover, to look better than the inside or the outside. So if you mess up on the inside, you can easily fix that before you attempt the front side. And I did do that side first. So get that done, right? I usually do the inside, the back, then the front. I don't do it all at once. So go back with this, do the same thing, just a spritz so it lands on it, seals it. Don't do a direct right on it because you will ruin it, it will crack. Especially on the bendable parts. The front side, it's not so bad. And if you use this clear, it dries super fast. If you use like a Krylon or Rust-Oleum, Krylon's probably the best clear you can get other than this for availability. This one you can find at Hobby Lobby. But if you have to go to a hardware store, go with Krylon, Rust-Oleum. They're 2X clear, even though it's matte, it never shows up matte. It's always shiny, so I wouldn't do that. So that's sealed like that, right? So it's gonna look like tan, reddish, orange a little bit, basically what it turns out to be. Then you take your black. Oh, and also, when you're using your burnt siennas, you wanna fill that mouth in, because that mouth in that scene, if you go back to those photos, it is red. So don't use red, use the burnt sienna, because it'd be way too much by contrast. So I always fill in the eyes last with the black. So same thing with the black. Don't load up your brush. Don't put too much on it, just a little bit. Always go through your palette, get a little bit, and wipe almost till you can't see it on your brush. Like almost till it's like nothing's wiping off. And then you just start dry brushing it in. And it really will affect these high points here. And the darker you want it, just go over it again. But once you have it to a certain darkness, you want it to be darker, just move on. Let the rest of that brush, with whatever paint's in it, work the spots. Once that's done, you can go over like darker spots here, darker spots there, especially in the mouth, around the nose, and then finally inside the eyes, around the eyes. Let's look at the back here, right there. And if you're thinking about copying this and molding it, there is his signature or his name in this cover a few places, which is smart, which mine does too. So if you're thinking about copying mine, my name's in there in a lot of places where you don't even see it. It's like right at, you can see it, but then you can't, or you can't see it, and then you will. That kind of thing. I will go over this paint later. It is very, very, very similar to this. Very similar. The only difference is there's a couple more colors that I use, especially inside the eyes, difference inside the mouth, but very, very similar. Let's look at the inside of mine right here. You can see that. That's the inside of mine. So many pages. So, two different books, same movie, and right now, these two, for Evil Dead 1, are the most accurate out there and available. This one's available right now from Payton Petrone Sculpting. This one, still not available because I still have to wait for the latex to come in. We had a snowstorm and got a little colder, so Monster Maker, I always put on their shipping, wait till it gets a little bit warmer. So probably next week, I'll be popping these covers out. And this one will probably be maybe just dummy pages in there. I will put this under glass, same thing with this one. This one will have accurate pages. But yeah, they both are cool. If you're an Evil Dead fan and you want to improve your collection, let's say the only books you have are either something you got from Etsy or a company, but you want something like better, these two for Evil Dead 1 are the ones you need to have. Even though his and mine will be a limited release, mine will be more limited because I'm not gonna do this shit forever. I'm just saying, I'm not gonna be popping covers out probably next year. This is probably gonna be this year's run's it, and that's it. And then I'm probably never gonna do it again. So there it is. If you're looking to get this, the burnt book from Evil Dead 1, or The Evil Dead, hit up Payton Petrone Sculpting. Here he is right here. Hit him up on Instagram. I know he has a Facebook account too, but I forgot the name of it. But if you hit him up on Instagram, I'm sure he'll get back to you because I know he's selling those. If you're looking to get into this limited release, the first release is gonna be on the Ghost Beaters Facebook page, Ash vs. Evil Dead. So that's where you'll find this. I think there's only gonna be 2 releases of this year. This first release is probably summertime, the second release, and after that, maybe never again. But in the next video, I have to talk about a certain person who is just an incredible builder and show you guys one of his props. Now it's related to the video game, and all I can say about it is, it's legendary. Till next time, you guys stay groovy.